Hello, everybody. I hope that you can hear me, you can see me. We'll bring the music down in a second. Let me make sure that people can hear me, see me. If you can hear me, see me, please let me know, or in the chat, or someone from my team, so that we know that we are live. Awesome. I heard that everything looks great. Perfect, because on my end it doesn't look as great, but this is the delay of Restream. Technical issues always, but apparently everybody can see me, hear me perfectly. So hello everybody, I'm super excited today because I have two amazing leaders from our industry, and it's one of the biggest webinars I've done, so I'm a little bit shaking. It's going to be an amazing one. We have some top companies here, so it's going to be really, really good. So today what we're talking about is building trust with customers, and I couldn't ask for a better panel. So first of all, to all of them that accepted, both of them that accepted to come on board, thank you so much. You're going to meet them in a second, and they're going to introduce themselves. So we have an awesome agenda. We're going to talk about sales enablement and trust, because that's exactly what we do. We're going to be looking at a little bit about outsourcing without losing trust with your clients. Okay, when you're outsourcing your sales to us, we don't want you to lose that trust. That's very important, and that's always a question for everybody. Hey, if I outsource, what's going to happen? Blah blah blah. How are you going to speak to my clients and so on? So we're going to discuss that a lot. There's a lot of experience in that room in a second, and how us, the agencies, use content to create that trust. We're going to help you understand why we're doing all this content, and some amazing content that we deliver all the time. And I'm very excited about this one, the KPIs that matter in building the trust, so that as our clients, what KPIs do you need from us to make sure that that trust is there, so that you can share that in your team as well, and making sure that we build a long-lasting relationship with our clients, because we call them actually partners here. And lots of amazing trust building strategies. I know the guests quite well now, and I can tell you there's going to be no fluff. It's going to be actionable insights, and there's going to be hyper value discussion. But before, let me get on screen, if I can, if everything goes well, I'm going to introduce Mr. David Kreiger, President of Sales Roads, next to me. Let me see if that works. Hopefully that's working. David, hello, welcome.
Hi, Tim. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm very excited, David. Well, as the president of Sales Road, we've had a little bit of a relationship in the past months, and our both companies been doing some great things together. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much for accepting the invite. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Sales Roads?
Yeah, so Sales Roads is an SDR outsourcing company. We're going to be celebrating our 17th year. So we've been around before SDR was even a term. But we really we're a boutique agency where we really work very closely with our clients within their organizations. And so trust is a really important thing for us. So this is an important topic. I'm glad you're hosting a whole webinar around it, both with the relationships we have with our clients, but also, as you alluded to, the relationships that we're opening for our clients. I mean, we talk about being ambassadors for our client's brand. And I think that's really important in any type of prospecting, because a lot of times we're the first introduction, right? Our organizations are the first introduction, the first touch point with our prospects. And so I think it's something to take very seriously.
100%, and I know you do take that seriously. I've only heard great things about Sales Roads, and David, I also love your content on LinkedIn as well. So this is why I'm very excited that we're going to talk a lot about content, and how, as the president of Sales Roads, you also emphasize the content of Sales Roads. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And next up, we have Michael Maximoff, co-founder and managing partner of Belkins. Here he is on the screen. Hello, Michael. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Tim, David, great to see you guys. Happy to join you here. Great panel. Very, very excited to have this conversation with both of you. Admire your work.
Awesome. Well, Michael, and thanks for accepting the invite. I know you are at a conference right now.
Yeah.
I think you are at Web Summit. Is that correct?
Yes, Web Summit Lisbon, second day. We actually have a booth here. We're presenting one of our products. So I was the entire day standing in front of the booth, talking to people, doing the pitches. And as soon as I know that it's time for our webinar, I took in and and I'm here and I'm very, very excited. And I'm already warmed up, as you can imagine. So I'm ready to spit out everything that is on my mind and no fluff, basically, as you said, Tim.
Awesome, Michael. Well, I'm gonna let you introduce your company a little bit, but before that, thank you again, because I know you found a sound booth there, and it's awesome that you took the time to join us. But can you tell us a little bit about Belkins, please?
Yeah, so Belkins is a B2B appointment setting agency. We started in 2017 and we've been growing really quickly every year. And the two secrets of our growth was that we are very customer oriented. So I focused on the delivery part and client relationships from the start, rather than acquisition, which was a very a very common to a lot of agencies in our space, as you know. And then the second of all is I care about the relationships. So we founded the company with my best friends, partners, girlfriends, wives. Like we're just bringing on everyone on board. You know what I'm saying? So it became as in a way like a family business, because there's so many great relationships here and everyone is so caring. And that's why I am again happy to join you guys and maybe talk more about that caring part, but more in the numbers rather than just on the on the nice sweet words, basically. So yeah, happy to be here.
Well, amazing intro. Thank you so much. And I've mentioned that David's, of course, LinkedIn. Michael's also very active on LinkedIn. This is why I love this trio that we have here. I think the three of us are quite active on LinkedIn and content. Yeah. Michael has also a new newsletter. If you're building an agency, I think he gives all his secrets out. I'm sure he's going to tell all about it in a bit. But let's start, because we're here to talk about building trust with customers. Again, I can't stop saying it, but I have two amazing leaders next to me. Me as a first-time CEO, I'm the CEO of TaskDrive, and I've been CEO for about 7-8 months, and I can invite these great leaders: David, President of Sales Road, and Michael, co-founder and Managing Partner of Belkins. So thanks again, guys. It's going to be awesome. So building trust with customers, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most important things. I am sure you know that. Okay, for any business. I was reading earlier somebody saying how trust and customer experience was important for e-commerces. And I just commented, I said, thanks for saying for e-commerce, but it's for every industry, right, for every company, even for your paint shop, right? So you should have really good customer experience. So let's just get into the no flap section, so that I ask those questions that is going to really bring value into the discussion. I'll start with some general questions, guys, pitch in wherever you want. And then I'll kind of start directing questions to you guys. I'll also be checking on the chat to see if we have any questions from our audience. I know that we had already a few that was submitted through our email list. So I'm going to cover those at the end. But we're talking about measuring trust and competitors and so on. So what are the important indicators do you use to measure customer trust? Who would like to go first?
I mean, I can start off with several metrics if that's fine with you, David.
Sure, Michael.
So one of the things that I my team cares about, and something that I built in our company, was to take ownership of the results that we deliver to the customers, right? So it's not just about the outsourcing; it's about what we commit to, right? And one of the first things that we implemented was we call it like SDR KPI, is the number of sort of like appointments or leads we can deliver to a client per month. And what is interesting is that maybe a lot of companies have that, but we tied that into our comp structure. So in a way, SDRs or delivery team is financially responsible for the results they're getting, because that's sort of like equal to what we're promising to the customer. So in this way, all the parties involved in the process, the client, the company, the people working within, they are sort of like on the fence with regards to, okay, if we're delivering, we're all successful. If not, in thought. This is like one of the metrics. We have a few others, but happy to pass over Mike to David here.
Yeah, so I'm going to get there. I'm going to take a mini step back, because I think this is a really interesting question on the KPIs, but I also think it starts even bigger. And so first, one of the reasons I'm excited to be on this panel is I think that building trust is a cultural thing, and then you can translate into some of the KPIs. But it's a little fluffy, right? But you still have to have KPIs. But it starts with the leaders at the company, and that's why I was excited to be on this with you, Tim and Michael, because you guys are we're an interesting industry, but there's some real gems, and you two are two of them, right? People who really care about what they do, care about quality work, care about the teams. I just see that from the conversations we've had and with the interactions, I've seen on social media. And that is where I think it all starts, right? Companies take on the ethos of their leader, and people model that behavior. They look to it, and it can either be one of non-trust, or it can be one of trust, right? And so I think a lot of those things start from a cultural standpoint, and just the actions that each of us take. And then it can be translated into core values. Like one of our core values is we care, which I was a little worried about putting. It's a little cheesy, but when I looked around after a number of years, we only named it like 5 years ago, I saw the people who'd been with us the longest, they cared. They cared about the clients, they cared about doing good work, they cared about the team. And so I think there are those ethos things that have to start, that are a little less tangible than the KPIs. But then definitely you have to sort of kind of get a sense of things, both from a leading indicator and then a lagging indicator. And so one of the KPIs I have for myself, and I encourage my team to do, we don't track it exactly, and I don't want to monitor it because I feel like it takes it away, but just, is there one activity I can do every day that helps somebody, right? Helps a client, helps a prospect, and just make sure I'm trying to think in that mindset. And that keeps me sort of accountable and, in that way. And then I think you can look at the other, it's going to trickle down. Renewals are a big thing that we look at. What is our, what's our renewal percentage every month? What are the number of leads that are coming from referrals, because that translates to trust. And so those are some of the things. But I just want to start a little high level because I think it trickles down in that pyramid direction.
Well, amazing, both of you. I mean, just to continue a little bit on this, because David, you said we care, and I met you, I know you a little now, and I know you care. So that I don't think that's why you can't say it's a fluffy kind of core value, as you do guys care. I've had interaction with your team. Everybody does care in your team. You care. So I think it's a great core value. And I know that we all have a tiny bit of a different model of how we operate. I mean, we do the same things, but Michael, you have quite a different models than ours as well. So I believe when you said SDR KPIs, do you show, because you don't dedicate SDRs or you don't call yourself an outsourcing, right?
Yes, correct.
So what are those KPIs? Can you give me a couple like exact ones that are different from us that you believe are different? We're very curious.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. So we, over the years of doing this, we decided we sort of like we can onboard as many as clients that we can deliver quality work to, right? And we, by building our marketing, we were able to sort of like funnel down the exact customers that we can be more successful than others. And we have a very rigorous sales and BDR process to be able to only hand to delivery team the clients that the chance of delivering to them are much higher than average. And in this way, our delivery team is set up for success. And when this is happening, because of our sales process, and I'm gonna be happy to talk more about that later if needed, but during the sales journey, our team estimates a certain number of deliverables that we can generate for a customer, and that deliverable is a contractual commitment that we stick to. So we're sort of like financially responsible for the results of that. But because of that rigorous sales process, we are not committing to someone that doesn't fit in all the criteria of that delivery process. So when we're starting the relationship, there is like 9 out of 10 chance that we can actually deliver. Obviously, there is sometimes a rotten apple, and it's not necessarily on a client end. Like we've made some failed, obviously, but it's a human factor, right? But we're trying to sort of like maximize that conversion. So when I'm talking about the SDR KPI, it's a certain metric or commitment that my team and we as the company are take ownership to be able to show justify the investment that the clients are making. But it's interesting because how this tied into what you guys were telling, because I think like care is very important here, because it's one thing to have a metric and either do it or not do it at all cost, and the other thing is actually caring about that metric, right? So and what I've seen is actually it's on the person level. So it's like it's something in the character. When we hire and when we see one of the best people in our team are those that they care, because as if like it's humiliating to them to show less than what they could do, like in 100%, like actually putting their absolute best into the work. And when you have people like that on the board, the metric or the KPI is a certain like a north star for them. It's not something that, if you don't do that, that's it, you're done, you're fired, whatever. But rather like, hey, this is where we're going and this is what the resources we have. Let's use all of those resources to get there. However, if we cannot use those resources to get there, use more resources to get there, but estimate that as you go. And the reason why we have that measurable sort of like path there, because as I mentioned, we've been growing really fast and we have to have a very operationally clean sort of like structure to be able to get there. And that's why like we have 300 people right now, and so we're doubling almost every year. And it's not just about in terms of the clients, but also in terms of the people. So in a way, like I kind of sometimes sacrifice the ability to go as deep as I can. And this is one of the questions that you guys are going to have, how to build the long-term partnerships. And I would want to learn more about you guys from this, because I admit that maybe I'm not the best person in building the long-term partnership. I'm doing that not as long. We've been on the market only for 7 years, but what I know is how to bring on these caring people and how to measure how they can get to that North Star, if that makes sense.
Wow. Yeah, it does make sense. And David, I can see you're shaking your head. So would you like to add anything to what Michael just said before we move on to the next question? Because I think it's kind of developing a bit of a chat here.
Yeah, so I think what Michael said is important. And at the end of the day, the businesses that we're in, it's a people business, right? Which makes it so fun, but also challenging, right? It's not like we have a software product. I know, Michael, you've got a few businesses, so you can compare and contrast even better than I can. But we're managing, and that's why our clients turn to us too, because this is a hard functionality to develop, to find the right people, create the right processes. And so at the end of the day, sort of piggybacking on what I said, which takes it further, is it starts with us, but it can't end with us. It's got to translate to the team, because we can only do so much. And we'll talk about the actions that we individually take. So you've got to find and have a good process to hire people who embody those things. Michael, that's really interesting. That's almost a family business. And having those first hires is so important that embody that. So that's awesome that you did it that way. But you've got to be able to translate it to your team. And that, to repeat a little bit of what I just said, but, it's having those core values, it's then living those core values, and then making the team around you, especially the first people you hire and the people who are touching the most people, make sure they embody them, because if they don't, your company is not going to translate your core values to what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, just to add on to sort of like shadow off what David mentioned about delivering value to the customer and then sort of like measuring success rate, right? And this very important metric, because it's not just the SDR KPI, is that part of their, as you David mentioned, referrals, like how many referrals we get, right? Like how happy the customers are. The way we did it is, and again, me being a sort of like engineer here, so we built this dashboard. We're using a software called Plant Hat. It's for the paid customer relationship management, and we sort of like tailored that Plant Hat tool into where we have a clean view of all the customers, all their metrics, their industry. But then we added those fields where you can see who left the clutch review, or who did the case study, who did the video testimonial, and they very visually accessible to the entire team. And then what we did, because even we all know that even if client is super happy, do you think how many customers? I asked that in my webinar. I asked the chat, like, how many customers, if like 5 customers are super happy with your work, how many of them would leave a clutch review? Like they will tell all of them and say, yeah, I will do that. But actually leaving a review can be 1 or 2 customers. So the conversion is low, right? So by having what I did is I start motivating my team and it's one of their account management KPIs is, we call it like marketing. I call it like marketing KPI, where they have a certain health for the customer, but they should get or submit a certain number of case studies, reviews, testimonials, so it's not fall under the cracks. So they know that for them to be successful, and in this way they can measure, because like if you ask the customer and they actually do that, then you can discover some of the things like yeah or no, or etc., right? But I'm trying to sort of like gamify sort of like all of those nuances for not just for the customer but for my team to be able to measure that, because again, for me, if it's not measured or if it's not in the process, then it sometimes slips through the cracks because of the volume, and I wanted to both the quality and the quantity, and so that's why I'm kind of balancing out here.
I love it. And I mean, also, Michael, I was at your webinar, I think it was last Thursday.
Yeah.
And you discussed a lot about clutch, and your clutch game is just next level. Have you seen that, David?
Yeah, I know, it's Belkins does. It's impressive.
Yeah, but just to reiterate here that what I love is that the three companies, TaskDrive, SalesRoads, and Belkins, we all have 4.9 stars, so almost 5 stars.
Yeah.
All three. I just opened it just to make sure that's correct information. We have different numbers of reviews, but the ratings always the same. And when we look at the other guys, you're not here, so I can say it, right? They definitely don't have the same rating as us, and much lower, and you can see clients complaining. So I'm very excited to have such a strong panel on trust, and this is exactly what we're discussing here. Amazing. Okay, well, we've kind of spoken a little bit about your contents and so on, but I'm very curious because, how do you make sure that your content really shows your agency's trustworthiness without really making unrealistic claims, right? Because that can be very difficult in our industry. And even when I make content, sometimes I even make like data-driven content, and I'm like, oh, we got this many appointments for these clients, or we got this many leads in the past month, and I have to double check because I know there's a lot of fluffy numbers sometimes, and sometimes even unrealistic numbers. Because you both are active on LinkedIn, or you have your newsletters and so on. So I'm very curious, how do you make sure that content is genuine and it represents the trust of your companies? Because at the end of the day, you are yourselves for sure, but you do represent your companies.
Right.
So how do you decide on that content?
So first, I think there's one thing that I think is important that we realized pretty early on, and it's that it's not in SalesRoad's best interest to overpromise clients or to have content that is unrealistic, or say we can do well, like Michael said, there's certain industries that it works and certain industries it doesn't, right? And we realized we wasted, first of all, we want to do good work for our clients, and we don't want to, there's a reputation and things like that. But even more than that, it was a waste of our time. We're a boutique agency. We can only take on so many clients. And we want to make sure that we are also choosing the clients where we can have the longest longevity with them. That is better for us and better for the client. So that's the first thing, is that we just realized that was a deep insight, both the way we want to do business, but even it was the right way to do business from a financial perspective for us. So we try to make sure that anything we're putting up on the website is real, right? That we're not overpromising, that we're not putting up case studies in industries that we can't deliver results. So that's one. But also, as part of our sales process, and Michael, it sounds like you guys do something similar as part of yours, is that every client, there's industries that are similar, and obviously personas we're going to go after, but to some degree, every program is going to be a little different. There might be different qualifiers. And so what we do is part of our sales process, a calculator, and we really talk about, we understand their target, targets are, who are the personas, who's their ICP, what kind of qualifications they're looking for. And then we make some estimates based upon, obviously we have 16 years worth of information. Obviously,
Right.
Metrics have changed over 16 years, but we leverage that to give them a good understanding, both from what we can deliver, but also we love as much as they can give us, what is their lifetime value to a customer. And we talk about the ROI so that we can then create those benchmark metrics and decide whether mutually, is this a good fit and is this going to be a good partnership?
Yeah.
Well,
just to echo on what David said, like one of the examples, like just a few days ago, Michael manager came into me and say, hey, like our sales team for SEO agencies that want to be our customers, they promise X number of appointments first month, and we cannot deliver them because most of the agencies have a very shitty deliverability rate because of the nature of what they did. So we need to first fix that, and it's going to take us a month, and then we can get back on track. And I was like, oh, it's interesting. Like, it's what's their experience said. So it doesn't matter what SEO agency, it's what the numbers told, like across the board. So I said, hey, why don't you guys work with our sales team, and you need to have like a quarterly review where you actually give them the rundown of what's happening right now in all these different buckets of the customer we work with, in terms of what the mainstream are, what the patterns are, so that the sales team can be informed to then communicate with the customers. And I think that alignment, we're very often are talking about the alignment between sales and marketing, but also alignment between delivery in our industry and sales is also very important, because sometimes salespeople just don't know, and that's why they tell what they know, right? But if they are informed, then they would be, oh, well, yeah, that's another case, right? So,
hey, can I build off that? Because what Michael just said, I think, is a really important point in the context of trust. When the folks selling to SEO at Belkins, then when the site comes up and they tell them, listen, we generally, you might have better deliverability and maybe, so we can maybe test for it, but you are not going to see results for, you got to do more, it's going to take some time. I just need to tell you that, and you're not going to see it till month 3 where you're going to start seeing it. Boom, that's the moment of trust. Because you are being honest, you're not trying to tell them everything to sell them. They realize you know your stuff, that you're going to tell it to them straight. And I would argue, even though you're going to not deliver, or saying you're not going to deliver results for 3 months, sales team will go up because you are capturing trust in those moments. And I've seen that. I had to turn down a client yesterday. Just told them this is an industry where it's just too difficult. And I'm not going to sell that client, but I can't tell you how many referrals from people that said, listen, Salesforce is going to tell you, they're not going to tell you what you necessarily want to hear. And it's those moments when you're real and you're saying something that could cause you pain. You could potentially lose a deal, but you're telling it real. That's where you build trust.
That's the process my VP of sales is using, Brian Hicks. And this is the reason he's still with us, is in the previous companies in our space that he worked for, he couldn't do that. He couldn't say no to a customer because his metrics were jeopardized. So, and this is very important for a lot of good salespeople to be very trustworthy and to sort of like be able to say no and know that the company executives be okay with that, right? Because that's what the company DNA is, and that's a very great point, David. There.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you said that, David, and I'm just going to say it out loud here. The other day, was it a couple of days ago, on Monday, I think, I had someone, second call, they're like almost, not begging, but they're like, hey, we want to work with you. And I'm like, look, you have 1 follower on LinkedIn. Your company does not exist almost. You're going to pay me a lot of money. That great. It's a minimum of 3 months on appointment setting. Give me the money. But we're not going to be able to bring you results. So here's a strategy for you to go do your homework and then come back, and the guy's like, great, I want to work with you now. I'm like, no, you need to do that work because we can't show you that value, especially in an industry of IT services, and it's like you have so much competition. And I think was it David you said, or Michael, I forgot, but one of you said, sometimes we have to tell things. I think it was about sales reps, and we're going to tell you things that you don't want to hear, but we're going to tell it to you. And I do say that in the beginning of the sales process. I'm like, look, we can't deliver value to you. There's much more work you have to do. I'm sorry about that, but come back. Come back when you're ready. And I think that is definitely trust. And you called it transparency, and that's one of our core values is transparency, and we have to be transparent.
And just to echo on this, and to something that sort of like evolved from this thought is, and this is something that I've teach my account management team, is very often the results that the client wants doesn't necessarily need to translate into your end deliverables, because the results or the deliverables that the client has should be totally different. So let me kind of give you an example. Like sometimes people don't need appointments, right? Sometimes people need to test something, right? Or sometimes people need to see how the entire process rolls out, or sometimes people need to learn. And very often when customers are on that buying journey, they come in and they see like very nice, like, hey, we can deliver appointments, we can book this, you can outsource this, and they start being captured on that, like, hey, this is exactly what I need. But that's not, as you pointed out, Tim, you're not at that stage yet. So first you need to go back and let's build something. Let's sort of like build out the ICP, let's test it, right? Let's test the messaging, let's like see how you can actually start selling to that audience first, and then we can tell you, okay, this is how we can measure that, and these are the results. And I think like speaking openly about this, and sort of like being expert and consultants, it's something that a lot of customers need right now because of the lot of noise that are generated, and that's actually one of the reasons I think like both David and Tim and we are still kind of selling, right? We're still in front of the customers, we're still talking very often, and when they hear us talking and sort of like explaining them, it makes all sense. And a lot of customers are like, you know what, that makes sense, let's do that. And as you said, Tim, right? And this is something that we have to teach our sales team, and all of you guys who are listening to this, if you're in a similar industry, in the marketing space or anyone, then it's okay if your sales team say no, and it's okay if your sales team can be an expert to be able to show the customers what are the ways, and you can package that in the contract, right? If the customer can spend the 3 months appointment setting budget, but instead of X number of appointments, you can deliver the knowledge, then it's still worth it, right? Because before enrolling on, let's say, on your team's work, they even didn't have that. So that's why my message here is that you should be so one of the first things that you would do with the customer on that discovery call is to estimate what the actual deliverables mean to you and how you can measure them, and then start kind of working towards that goal. And they shouldn't be always appointments, but something else, right? So
I love it, because as you said, I think it's a consultative approach for sure, but we don't even charge for it, right? It's like, hey, book a call with me, I'll still help you to grow, and when you're ready you can come back, and it's free of charge. Why? Because we trust what we do, and we're going to be transparent. And if we just wanted the money, we would accept you, but what's going to happen in 3 months? You're not going to see the results, and then you're going to churn, and that's not what we want. I know, David, you guys are, I think, double the age of Belkins and TaskDrive. Michael, you said 7 years, I think, at Belkins, and I think 7 years at TaskDrive as well. So I'm curious, because our longest client right now that we have is about 5.5 years or something like that. David, I'm very curious. Do you have such a long client, or how long is your top client at the moment?
Yeah, I think the age is because look at the gray hair versus the two of you guys. So Sales Rose has got some gray hair. Yeah, we have a client that is going on 12 years now.
Wow.
And so they're actually
wow.
But Tim,
so and it's been amazing partnership. We actually started. It was that we were one of 3, and we call it the Game of Thrones when you have different centers compete, and we won the partnership. It hasn't been we're not contracted. This is your contract. It's just been time, morphing with their needs, and making sure we deliver. So it's awesome having partnerships like that.
Incredible.
Tim,
Michael.
Something that David didn't mention, and something I wanted to highlight, that I know the first thing about David is that it's not just about the client, is the people that work with David. His team has been with him for years. So it's not just about the 17 years of sales growth, but it's also the people, the SDRs, the callers, the people that works with him are for a long run. And the reason is that one of the things that clients don't realize a lot, that every failed campaign impacts a lot the person who failed that campaign, an SDR. Like no SDRs would want to work with a failed campaign with a failed client. No one. It's so depressing. Like when you're trying and it's not working, and when you have someone like let's say like if you're in a job and you failed, you move on to another company and then you maybe will be successful there. But if that SDR works with the customer, it's not just about churning the customer. If you churn X number of customers one after one, you're burned out, you're demotivated, and we care about our people, so we don't want to lose them. So one of the things, and that's something that I explained to my sales team, it's not about you closing, it's about how happy the delivery team will be when they're going to be delivering them. If my SDRs, my account managers, my team are not happy with this client, then okay, we're going to close, as David mentioned, that one client, but we're going to lose the team. We're going to lose the people that we care about. And this is like, again, something that why we all care about the quality. It's both about the client, but the people that we work with. And you, David, amazing, doing a great job retaining talent and keeping sales routes going.
Incredible. And that comes back, I put it on
Michael.
the bottom if everybody saw it, we care, right, David? That's your core value, not just for clients, but for your team as well. We care.
No, and thank you for the kind words, Michael. And I love what you said. I mean, and it shows how you embody it. I mean, these are all going back to the idea of making sure that you're engaging with the right clients, building trust with them by telling them they're the right client or not. But it has a trickle down effect when you take on those wrong clients. That's why it's the right thing for both the prospect and for you, because you're right, Michael. I mean, when SDRs or managers work on a program that is just impossible to succeed because it's a commodity, or just too much competition in that space, don't have a big enough TAM, whatever it might be, you're setting them up to be miserable, right?
Yeah.
And potentially lose those folks. So I love that prism that you're looking through.
Wow, guys, incredible insights. And I want to take a question from the chat, if you guys don't mind, because Luisa S just asked a question. I would like to hear your way of building a long-term partnership. I mean, we're discussing this, but can you give a couple of action items so that Luisa can leave this webinar with action items on how to build long-term partnerships? Who would want to go first?
David,
Yeah,
can
I
you
can
take
take that.
this one? I want to learn.
Absolutely. So I think that there's a few things I'm gonna repeat, but for emphasis, add a little bit of as well, because I think it's a process. So first is setting the right expectations with that client, both in terms of the prospects and number of appointments or leads that you're generating, but also, and Michael touched on this as well, there are other intangibles that are really important and you need to understand during both the discovery, but even once you're onboarding them, because sometimes more stakeholders come in and things like that. And so you really want to understand what success is, both from a lead standpoint, because at the end of the day, I mean, most clients, that's a big part, but there are other aspects as well. They might be testing things. They might be trying to establish product market fit, either for their whole product or maybe different types of things. Their marketing team might want some feedback on messaging. Their IT team, might need certain integrations. And so you can't build a long-term partnership until you understand what success is from the company, and then also have open dialogue, because that might change. The executive team might all of a sudden feel like this is really important. So you need to have that feedback. So I think we have weekly meetings with our clients, our client success managers, and so it's really important for them to build that relationship, understand the needs, understand the morphing needs. And then I think through the whole thing, and there's a lot of aspects of it, Michael can obviously add to it, but going back to our thesis here, and why I like the fact that you asked the question, is that in order to build a long-term partnership, they need to trust you. I mean, what we're doing for our clients is such an important part of what they're doing. It is for a lot of teams, it's the growth engine, right? Either inbound hasn't worked or other things haven't worked, or it's stalled out. And for them to go to the next step or get the right types of clients, they need us. So it is super important. They need to trust you, that you have their best interests, that you are going after the goals for them. And then also, with all the other things that happen, that you're making sure the data is secure and all the things that, and they trust you as being part of their organization. And I think when you get those components, and those are some of the big ones, there's other aspects, but that's how it paves the way for a long-term partnership.
Yeah. Just to add to what David just said, a few things that came to my mind was so for you to build long-term relationship, you need to have the key success manager or delivery team should build that relationship with the customer. So the rotation of that team is important. So if you have people leaving off your company, then they won't be able to build a relationship. And I've seen so many times when we start working with a customer and they're like, oh, but can we make sure that the team that I'm onboarding right now, they will stick with me, because the previous provider, they changed through like 3 account managers for me and I couldn't even grasp, like there's knowledge sharing couldn't be gathered. So the longer your team stays with you, the sort of like the better the relationship would be with that customer. So with every rotation, there is a chance that the relationship can break, right? So that's why caring about your people translate in your LTV directly, right? And then some other thing that also came to my mind with regards to client retention and or long-term relationship, of course, is the success plan. Very often, and again, customers sometimes, as David pointed out, came into us for some short fix, like, hey, our inbound stalled. We need appointments. Our sales team is struggling. Let's do that, right? So what a lot of service providers are doing, like focusing on, okay, how we can get this rolling fast, how we can do this work right now. And very often they skip that long-term success plan, like, okay, how our relationship going to look in a year, how our relationship going to look in 2 years, and mapping that plan, like actually having that written down in front of the customer and going through that every month, like, hey, this is how our annual projection going to look like, this is our 2 years plan going to look like. And communicating that across the board is, I think it's very important, because then it sort of like reinforces that we're not here for the short term, but actually we're building this relationship so you can build in the value proposition that, for example, Belkins is offering into your long-term vision to your company growth, rather than having us just an outsourced partner for the short-term fix.
Well, I love what you both said, and because you mentioned inbound and outbound, I believe that you have to have a combination of both anyways, right?
Yeah.
If you want to grow. The one I think differentiator is hopefully your average revenue per account a year is over 6K, 7K. Then you can really have a proper outbound partner like us. But inbound is more a midterm, long term. And if you want to do testing, you want to learn, you want to change messaging, you're coming up with new features or a new product, you need to make sure that you have that outbound machine, because we get clients that are like, oh, we're testing something new, or we have a new product, right? That the outbound is going to bring quick responses. The inbound is going to take some time. So I'm glad that you brought that up. It wasn't at all in the discussion, but I wanted to say it for the people that are here. We have a few salespeople. Be nice with your marketeers as well, because I've seen always that marketeers and salespeople always fight, inbound, outbound. Be nice to each other, because you are the growth engine together, and then you bring us, TaskDrive, Belkins, or Sales Road as being a part of that engine. And usually it's one of the core things is to have the right partner, and this is why we're talking about building trust. Wow. Okay, I had so many more questions, and we're already 43 minutes in, and I knew this was going to happen, that it's going to be all quite organic discussion, because some amazing people are here.
I
Yes,
just want to
Michael.
say that Tim, you're doing a great job moderating, and I think that we've laid out much more value and insights than the Apollo Olympus conference, to be honest with you guys, like, because like here, like we are just
I
talking
hope they're
from
not here.
experience how this is can be done, rather than selling anything to anyone with regards to the new features or the product or how great whatever is. But because being in the trenches and actually doing that and executing is tough, but you can actually do that, and you see the examples that we are doing it right now. So
Well, yeah, thank you for that. And I hope they're not here.
no, we are
But
doing another Olympus. We're gonna do another Olympus where 6 hours us, then get a few other folks, and we can actually drill people for 6 hours straight.
which definitely, I think this should be a start. I think this should be just the start of our webinars together and more content together.
Serious.
I know we interact with each other's content on LinkedIn newsletters, but I hope that this is the start of something greater, where the three companies and we can get together and give even more value. I think between the three of us, we do have quite a bit of knowledge. I come from a different background. For me, agency is quite new. It's about a year and a half, 2 years now. If you want to call it an agency, of course, because it's human based. As we said in the beginning, is really tough. It's been my toughest times, but also it's very rewarding when I see clients doing well and clients growing, thanks to the leads that we give them, thanks to the appointments that we give to their salespeople, and when they say thank you, all that, I think stress goes away, it disappears, and it's a hit restart, and that day I'm like, oh, okay, let's go again, right? So awesome, amazing. I have a couple of cool questions, or I think they're cool, that I want to tackle still. I'm going to start directing them a little bit to you guys separately. So I really, since it's no fluff, and I know that we're all transparent here, can I have Michael a little bit more clear strategies that Belkins uses to really maintain that high client trust?
So it's a great question, Tim. So I think it's all about having multiple communication channels open for the customer. So the way we do it is whenever we have a new customer, I always reached out directly myself to say hi, congratulate them, and also open the line of communication with us so that they know that it's not about another, name in the book, but rather like we're here and we wanted to build a relationship, and I'm there as a founder to them, although we're not going to be working with them on a daily basis. Then we want, although we are growing and we have account managers and some of them join the company within, let's say, 6 months or whatever, we always have we build that the team leaders are working and building that first momentum relationship onboarding strategy with the customer so they can the best experience whatsoever and not just handled by the juniors. But that what happening is we sort of like we build in the process where like even in 30 days after the onboarding, my partner Alex, who is our managing director and responsible for the entire delivery team, he reached out to the customer and also sort of like opens the dialogue and knows that he's there as well, and also checking the account. And then obviously we do the weekly calls, reporting and maintenance, and building that success plan for a year, 2 years. But then we're trying, and this is something that we started doing a few years ago. We realized that some customers don't want to open up and wanted to show us the entire process. So we started actually putting in the contract that we wanted to have access to your CRM. We wanted to look at your pipeline. We wanted to have access to the end results. Like, because what happened that sometimes we're delivering those appointments and clients is not closing, and we're like, why clients are not closing the appointments deliver? And then we access the CRM and the sales exec on the client end is not follow-upping because whatever reason, and we didn't know about that. So now we're in the point where we are sort of like, we don't want to lose the trust, but we wanted to get the help. So the final point is that we're trying to get as much visibility on the entire pipeline, on the entire relationship, rather than just focusing on one aspect. And did help us a lot to shape some of the relationships, not all, but clients start opening up more and more and more for that process. And they start looking at us not just as the service provider, but as the trusted partner who can actually help them to grow, rather than just outsource some part of the process.
Wow, amazing said, Michael. And I think that it's very important to look at that, because you have clients, they get lots of leads, they have really great appointments, and nothing closes, and you're like, oh, and then they complain, and you're like, look, we're your partner. We want to understand. Can you give us a bit of visibility, and let's understand your numbers. Let's understand how do you do the closing. How do you do those calls? And then our content usually also is to help them do that, because we still want them to close deals, because then they're happier with the appointments. If they don't close the deals, we've delivered the appointments, and they're qualified appointments. But if you don't close the deals, you're not going to get a return on investment.
Yeah, we had clients that we sort of like booked appointments for some of the sales execs, and then they were fired, and then the appointments started closing, and the client said, "Oh wow, so it's not a problem with the appointments. It's like we had the shitty salespeople on the job. So we now know that." So again, I think like it's also very important that in every partnership, it's obviously about the trust, but it's also about this finding the solution for the entire sort of like relationship, not just looking at when your sales exec is not closing. Like, if, for example, if Belkin sales exec is not closing, I'm not pointing fingers, oh, you're a bad sales exec, I'm gonna fire you, but rather like what we can do for the sales exec to close, right? Like, do we have the right onboarding? Did that person know the product? Can we help to train that person? Can we set up the better tools, better process? Because it's very often it's not about the person per se, because again, a lot of on every level, people are great, but rather than like just fixing something and then it will be a totally different ballgame, right? So
amazing. Well, I have a question now coming for you, David. Since you have so much more experience in years in sales roads, can you tell us a little bit how, like, can you explain us how Sales Road has improved its sales enablement processes to enhance the client trust? Because you must have a lot of iterations under your experience, right? Can you tell us a little bit, how did that evolve? What are the latest things that you had to bring onto the team to make sure that you keep enhancing that client trust? Because technology changes, AI is coming. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please, David?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's interesting because we started, as I started the organization, I was the face of the company. I was selling the deals. I was servicing the deals, right? And so in some ways at the very beginning, it's very it's easier because I'm right there. And so I think the big part, and Michael touched on this a little bit, is as you evolve as an organization, how do you create the processes to be able to maintain that trust? And there's a few things, at certain points, I was more distant from the process, because I had to build other things. But what we've tried to do as we've gone forward and as we've gotten larger is to be able to allow me to be part of aspects of both the sales process as well as ongoing things, while also knowing that I can't touch everyone. So how do we scale David to some degree, right? And what we've really done for that is trying to find the right touch points. For all of the deals that seem qualified, I just write a little LinkedIn note, right, to those folks, and just reach out. And sometimes, and say, if you want to jump on a call, I'm happy to do it. And when that happens, I love it. But I'll tell you, more often than not, they just reply back, "Thanks for being involved. Maria has been wonderful," and things like that. So just knowing that we're there, that we're accessible at the beginning, even if it's not me who's in front of them all the time, I think has been really important. And then what I've tried to do is we go along is with clients, and certain clients I do come in, or just at least check in and make sure that things are good, and just know again that we care, that at all levels, and just to have a sense of what's going on, and that I'm there. So those are some of the things that have happened over time, where you kind of had to almost start from a level where it's actually easier to build trust to being able to scale trust.
Wow, amazing and interesting, because as you were saying that, David, I think I have a solution for you. That you can scale David by building a GPT with your experience and knowledge.
We saw you posted about that. How are successes? Were you able to create the clone of what you were building? Some like an acquisition expert or someone?
So I've built now. I mean, if I open it, I think I've built about 7 of them the last few nights, and I think every night I start a new one, and then I optimize the others a little bit. I haven't slept. My wife's not very happy about me, But when my daughter and wife goes to bed, I'm up, and I'm obsessed with technology, as you guys know, and I'm obsessed with tools, and you can see a little bit of sound engineering and other things. And I met David thanks to ChatGPT. Actually, I was doing a ChatGPT webinar, and David joined. And Michael, I met you from another webinar. I think that I was guest at Reply, or is that Reply.io or something like that? And that's how we met.
Yeah.
So I love this type of stuff, and so I built a revenue catalyst, I call it. It actually does a bit of lead research. It can personalize emails. It drove me crazy for a few days, because it still would do the "I hope you're doing well," and I was like, no, and I said, how many times I told it, do not say that, and it was still doing it. But it's an incredible experience. Still very early days, so don't worry, guys. We still have a lot of work to do here, and it's not going to be all fully automated. And anyways, I do believe that we should have these tools to enhance our work and to be even more productive, and to give even better value to our clients, faster and better value to the quality to stay, and even increase the quality, but also make sure that the quantity of what we give them return on investment wise increases. GPT is incredible. It takes a lot of time if you want to build something great. I know a lot of people just keeps putting a couple of lines, and they're like, here's, I built a GPT. The GPT I built has about 6 documents on copywriting and other things that I've had to put together, even from some of our guides, and we're giving this for free. So I really do recommend testing it out. I think that's the biggest value I see right now, what we're doing. And David asked me this question and I didn't answer it yet, I think, David, so I'll answer it live in front of everybody, is we have kind of started to build an onboarding partner. We have started to build an SDR partner, an SDR assistant, so that our SDRs have it trained on the latest and greatest of copywriting and so on. But also we keep it private, of course. And then we have information, FAQs about the client, objection handling about the client, certain scenarios and so on, so that the SDRs have always a partner. Since we're all remote company at TaskDrive, it can be a bit lonely sometimes, right? You're there and you're just doing messages. We do cold calling as well, David, as you guys do as well. It can get a little bit tough. So we have this SDR assistance that we are offering to our clients on top with GPT at the moment. We were doing it with another tool, but I think GPT has all that power in place.
Nice.
But I'm looking for your feedbacks, both of you. So you're gonna have to use my GPTs and give me some feedback.
Absolutely, of course. My head of my CDO, he actually built in an assistant for himself that writes his code. So so now, like, he doesn't need to write all the lines of the code. He can just write like something like the task, and then the code will be duplicated in his style. And he said it saves him a lot of time. So now engineers are just kind of doubling in the work because just having an assistant. So I think assistants are the future, especially when you want an SDR to deal with a lot of different aspects of the work, lead research, working with objections, the copywriting, the follow-ups, all those things. So having right assistants as the assistants, not as their main avatars, is very important, because I'm very skeptical about the people that say I was super so one of the examples is someone posted about the AI-driven personalization at scale, and I was like, what the fuck is this? AI-driven personalization is how does it work? If it's personalization, it's targeted, it's manual, it takes time, and if it's AI-driven, it means automatic. It means that it's not a personalization anymore. So it's it's just the whole concept of the things is just weird. So.
Well, yeah, you've said it, and I think I've said to clients the other day that we don't do even automated emails anymore. It's just that we do manual emails that are based on real facts about the leads, because the mass personalization, it doesn't kind of exist, right? As you're saying, Michael, there's AI mass personalization. We have to stop that. I know that we're coming almost to an end. I think that, Michael, you have some things happening at Web Summit that you're going to want to join. But before we finish off, since we started on the trendy topic that I didn't want to do this webinar on, which is ChatGPT, GPTs and stuff like that, but I'll start. David, I know we met through that. In the company, are you guys using some ChatGPT stuff as an assistance to any of your team members or yourself?
Yeah, so we use it for building the playbooks. But we do, we have a lot of prompts that helped us to do it. But one of the things I've really instilled in the team is it might save you a little bit of time, but use it to make the playbooks better. So before, when we're creating value props, we would brainstorm and do things. Now it's, write me 3 value props, but give me one that's really insane. And I can't remember exactly our prompt for that, but something that's really out of the ordinary, that's different. And same thing for the call approaches and the objections. And so I've really been coaching the team. We have a great series of prompts that helps us to build it, but use it as a brainstorming tool. All of a sudden, I am so nice. I have hired an assistant for all of you guys to work with, and brainstorm with it. You throw things against the wall, iterate. Don't just take what's coming out. We've seen the quality of the playbooks go up tremendously because of that.
Assistant. We're all saying assistants, guys. Listen well to all 3 here. Assistants is not here to take over your job or anything. It's just to help you be better, faster, and have a partner, have even a brainstorming partner. It's there for that. Michael, you mentioned the CTO example. That's super advanced, but
Yeah.
any other business kind of examples that you're doing with that?
Yeah, of course. So I like how ChatGPT is packaging. So I personally use it to package my content, and the way I do it, I basically write the entire post like word for word basically, and I like them to kind of package that in a certain style on a flair, and sort of like and work with me to sort of like repackaging it, play around with the format so I can take a look which I resonate more. And what I notice, and I resonate with what you guys just said about like not copying pasting exact thing. I noticed that sometimes when there is a rewrite or something and ChatGPT cut off the one word or one sentence, it blow the whole sort of like it doesn't make sense, the entire thing. So one of the things that I personally always argue with ChatGPT is like, why you cut out that part? Like, don't cut out my content, keep it as original text, continue
Yeah.
as that. And very often I love that when ChatGPT is apologizing, say I apologize and apologize. Like, that's fine. Stop it. Like, don't apologize. We're like friends here. So yeah.
Well, I think one of the greatest GPT that at the moment I'm working, I can't share it sadly. It's not like the Revenue Catalyst is for everybody to use. I have Gamma Scout is for everybody to use as recruitment and scoring CVs that I built for my HR. As she was going through so many CVs, and now she can upload them and score them automatically to the job description, stuff like that. They're all available, and I'll share them. They're all
Please.
available on my LinkedIn anyways, and I'll share it with you guys as well. And I'm looking forward to your feedback. The best one that I think that I've been building lately, it's my content crafter, but it's trained on my my best 30 LinkedIn posts, my best newsletters, my best blog posts, and so on, so that it's really on brand and voice, and it's from me. It's not just AI coming up with crazy stories. And I always say, do not make any assumptions. Do not create something new. Ask me. You're here to interview me. I even have a couple of blog articles out there about how I use ChatGPT to interview me.
Voice assistant is perfect.
Yeah, I love that. In the car now, I never listen to music almost if I'm on my own. As ChatGPT is open and I'm just chatting to it, making a new plan, making a new strategy, giving some brainstorming ideas. Still I'm driving, of course, carefully. It's on Bluetooth and so on, right? Amazing. Well, we're gonna come soon to an end, because I know that every great thing has to end at some point, but I do really hope that we're going to repeat this. But David, let's start from you. Any call to actions? How can we find you? Should we follow you on LinkedIn or the company? What would you like to for the audience to do after this webinar?
Yeah, so I'm active on LinkedIn. You can just search for me that way. Love to have people connect. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, love to interact. You can also find SalesRoads or salesroads.com if you want to check us out that way. But hopefully I can meet you on LinkedIn, and let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome, David. Thank you so much. And Michael, how about you? Because I know you have the new newsletter, but I'm not sure the whole audience agency, but share it please as well, because I love it.
Yeah, of course. So I started to like just getting into writing. I don't know, like it became my personal passion. I started working with people more and working with text, and I just love that. And I created this newsletter from zero to agency hero. You can find it at from zero to agencyhero.com. It's a weekly newsletter and if you read a few previous ones, it's like 10 to 15 minutes read. So it's a long read, but I basically share everything that I know, that I feel, that I sort of like I live by. And again, I would love as more more feedback on that newsletter as you can, because like for me personally, it's a certain great journey in the writing profession that I'm very passionate about. So, but you can hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm trying to be active there as well.
Michael, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X. Please go back to Twitter. It's terrible, isn't it? It's just like everybody's like they want the name back, but let's not discuss that here. And Michael, thank you. David, thank you so much. I really want to, it's such an honor for me to have all you here. And I'm looking forward to doing more great things together. You brought so much value into this discussion, to this conversation, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to partnering more and doing great things together. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the audience for the question, and I hope that you found value in it, because I immensely found value. I follow myself, David, and I comment on his thing. Michael's newsletter is a gem because I'm the CEO of an agency and I'm new. So thank you, Michael, for that. You're giving all your value out, and David, thank you so much on culture leadership. I know you have a lot of posts on that. You guys are teaching me a lot, and having you guys here, it's been an absolute honor. So I hope that at TaskDrive we can continue inviting you. Or maybe, as you said, Michael, maybe we can do a whole day event where the three of us partner, we bring other guests and do a lot of discussions. I think that should be an action item from our end.
And you're going to be hosting, Tim, because you did so amazing job today. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Michael.
David, thanks for doing that. But Tim, you've been amazing, and I had so much fun joining you guys and having this discussion. So definitely let's do it again. And thanks for the audience for joining us as well.
Yeah, enjoy the conference that you are in as well. Thank you so much for the time. Michael, David, love it. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys. This was awesome. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All the best, everybody. Awesome stuff.